Good evening and welcome to today's tutorial, PHP for the beginners. Today we're going to look at PHP numbers. Previously, when we look at data types, we look at the string, integer, floats, and the rest. So here we're going to look at integer, float in more details. So let's first of all look at an integer. We said an integer is a whole number like 1, 2, 10, any number without a decimal point. So we refer it to as an integer. Now, for instance, now let me give you this example. I have x to be equal to 10. So this is an integer. So this variable is holding an integer number. So because it has no decimal point, for instance, now let me just check. Let the integer has a function to check if it is an integer, if the given value is an integer or not. So let's look at this. Is it an integer? Is it an int? So let's see. So let's put this x and echo this guy out. So let's see what it's going to give us. So you see, it's giving us 1. So it returned that it's what it's saying is this. That 1 means it is true. That this variable 10, which is equal to 10, that 10 is an integer number. So that is the function of one of the functions of an integer number. An integer number is a number without a decimal point. So now let's write a function. Let's write a program that will bring out an integer number. So for instance, now I have an array of a number, so which is equal to this. Which is equal to this array. Then let's have 2. Let's have string. Let's have Paul. Let's have 2.8. They have 5. Then have 9.8 or 9. Let's put 9.7. Okay. So then you have something like 4. Now these are number. So this we're going from here now. You can see this 2 is an integer. This 5 is an integer, and this 4 is an integer because there is no decimal part from it. So for instance, now let write our for each, or these are for each this thing. So now go what we are saying is, okay, go through this guy. Num as a number, then so if this is an integer, if the number is an integer, that is number is an integer, echo an integer for us. Then echo num. So echo number. So you can now see if it is an integer, then echo it. So from there, go and look this guy, to loop through this guy and check. Any integer, then just bring it out for us. So that's what the code stands for. So you can now see we have okay, let me just break this integer so that b now. So let's see now. So we have okay. Let me remove this one so that uh, so okay. So not put this inside bracket inside this one. So you can see. Look at our. We have seen this one now. So this is 2, this is 5, and this is 4. So that is what we are seeing here. This is 2, this is 5, and this is 4. So it look through it and bring out integer for us. So that is just it. So in the same way, so we have another PHP number called float. Float. We have another one. So float is a number with a decimal point, like 2.5, 22.6, 1,000,000.9, anything as long as it has a decimal part. So we refer it to as a number. Now, before we go, I want to tell you something. I want to do something to you. PHP has the constant to define the maximum and minimum integer. The minimum and the maximum integer. Now, so what is the minimum integer? Before we go to float, I want you to understand this one now. Now, this is a float. This is a maximum integer. PHP minimum int minimum. Now, this is a minimum integer. So let's check on the minimum integer. You see, this is the minimum integer. So PHP has a minimum integer and equally the maximum integer. So let's look at the maximum and the minimum integer. So what is then the maximum integer? So this is just it. So let me just break it. Okay, let me put this thing here. So you can now see this is the minimum integer and the maximum integer. So the integer is between this one and this one. So I don't have it often. So, but this is the constant. There's a constant to define it. Now, any number, this is the minimum. Any number less than this minimum is referred to as a float. Any number greater than this maximum integer is float. Do you understand what I'm telling you now? Now, this is a minimum integer. Any number less than this minimum is a float, and any number less than this maximum, greater than this maximum, is a float. Now let's practicalize it. Like from here now, we said that float is a number with a decimal point. Now, here there is no decimal point, so it's from here to this place, which makes us an integer. Now, if I remove this one now, if I remove 1 from here now, because we say any number less than this minimum, so if you remove 1 from here now, this minimum, it becomes an integer, float. This is an integer, minimum integer. So any number less than this minimum integer is float. Now, so let me just, you can now see, removing it now, see what it's giving me. See what it's giving me. So it's giving me 9 minus 9.2222. So in the same way, if I add 1 to this maximum, so it's going to give me, so you can now see, giving me 9.222. So you can now see that I have a decimal point number here now. So which will automatically become a float. So if a maximum, any number less than the minimum integer become a float. Any number more than the maximum integer become a float. So that is just it. Now, having understood that the minimum, let me remove this guy. So the we still have so having understood that the float is a number with a decimal part. So let let's so let me comment this one out. So now let's have a float here. Let's have a float here. To be equal to 10. Okay, let's say 10.5 because 10.6. This is a number with a decimal part. So now let's check if this one is a float. So we're going to echo. So it has a function to check. Is it a float? So I'm going to ask if this guy is a float. So now we have a float. So let's check if it is going to be a float. You see, it's giving us 1. It means it's a float. So this for 6.5 with this is a float. So now that is just it. So let me comment this one because I think it's such as okay. I make it's okay. Let me just even okay. Let me just um so that is just it. So I mistakenly removed that this thing. So now let's write if we load this guy now. So I think I have to. So you see, we are having 1 here now because this is a float. So now let's write a program to show that to fetch out floats from this guy. Let's have this thing. So let's copy this one now. So it's almost the same. So let's copy this one and delete this guy. Then let paste it here. Then this is a number. If it is, we're going to use if it's a float. So we're going to use if it is float. So if it is float, then echo the number. So we want it to bring out the float number there. Let's see what is going to happen. So you see, we have 2 float number there, 2.8 and 9.7. So this is 2.8 and 9.7. So these are 2 float number. So now this is exactly what they mean by float, a number with a decimal point, and we have a function like EC float to check if it is a float, and we'll use it to write a program here. Now the I told you we have the maximum float and the maximum like we have the minimum integer and the maximum integer. So we still have the constant that define PHP float uh, float mean. So yes, float mean. So echo. So now let us echo this guy out and see what it's going to give us. So it's going to give us the minimum um, float. To give us the minimum float. So this is the minimum float. Understand? This is the minimum float. Now, when so in the same way we can get the maximum float here. So let's have the maximum float. Okay, let me put something in between. Let me put something in between to echo it so that it will separate them. So we have echo PHP 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 float mass. So let me just it. So you can now see the 2 point something some 2.222. Then this one this is the maximum and the minimum float. So this is the maximum and the minimum float. So it's between uh, this between this number and this number. So this is the maximum, this is the minimum and the maximum float between these 2 points. So now any number that is more than this guy become an infinity. Any number less than this guy, so become more than this guy become infinity. So and that's exactly what happened. Now any number more than this guy become an infinity. So let's look at um let's check if a particular number is an infinity. So now for instance, now I have um okay, let me have an sorry, to be equal to as I have 1.4, then 1, then have to then have my plus 490. So let's check if this number is an infinity. So let's use our var so see to check if this guy is now. So we have infi. So let's see what happens. So you can see infinity. Now having look at this one, so we can see check um um we use C infinity. Is infinity has a function called C infinity. For this one, C infinity to check. So we have let's check long zero if long zero is an infinity number. So let's echo. So if it is infinity, it will definitely return zero. Uh, it will definitely return zero. So sorry, if it's in it will definitely return one. So see, it has returned one. So let me just um clear this one. Clear this again. Let me just so that we can see one there. See, you can now see, and that is how it works. That is how it is. So this is um infinity. So any number that is more than this guy become an infinity. Now, have you seen this one? We want to look at the third one, which is string number. The third one, the third number, PHP number is what you call the string number. String number. So we have string number to be something like this. When you have something like string number, so number, okay, number, okay, let me put num. So we have something like this: 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. So you see this string is inside. You see this is a number inside string. So this is what we call referred to as a string number. This is not an integer, but it's a numeric. So if you want to check if it is numeric, so let's echo this guy and check if this guy is numeric. It's numeric, but this is not an integer. So we have is he numeric? So let's check this guy if it is numeric. What's num? So let's see. So if it is numeric, it's going to return one. It's going to return one. I see return one. So I think we have something here. Okay, I think this one. So you can see. So um it can return we can return one. So we return one because it's numeric. This is numeric. So it's used to test. So this string number has a function, so which is in numeric to check whether it is numeric. So thank you for watching. So your comment is highly welcome, and your subscription is highly needed. Thank you, and God bless you.